Talandeni ku program ya Zodiac Exclusive inendelea malikano. Program ya lero tikhale tikusheza ndi wachikulire amene analipo kale iro nthawi imene dziko lino limamenyera ufulu wa democracy, ndipo ndi mmodzi mwa anthu amene anayambisanso mabungwe osiyanasiyana omenyera ufulu wa anthu mdziko lino la Malawi. Our guest today is none other than Ollen Mwalibunju. Like I said, he has been in the forefront in the struggle for democracy and human rights in Malawi. He founded the Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation, CHRR, and became its founding executive director from 1995. And of course, he served in that capacity up to 2005. He then left the organization when he was appointed as one of the Human Rights Commissioners of Malawi Human Rights Commission, and he served there for about 3 years up to 2008. Even if he was supposed to serve 2 terms, President Bingu Mutharika turned down his renew of another term in office as commissioner because he was critical of the regime on human rights issues. So that's Ollen Mwalibunju, the one that we are talking to in our program today, Zodiac Exclusive. Mr. Ollen Mwalibunju.
Thank you.
You have been quiet. Where have you been?
Since I left the National Initiative for Civic Education, I decided to go on an early retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing is I've been involved in some consulting work. I'm a farmer. I also do some part-time teaching at the Catholic University of Malawi, among other things.
Ndeme nanenera moja kuti ndinu mmodzi mwa anthu amene munamenyerera kuti dziko lino lichoke ku one party government, kuti democracy ibwere mu dziko lino. And now we are talking about 30 years of multi-party democracy, and the celebration of course took place last month in May. What would you say as a key achievement in the area of governance and human rights in Malawi?
I think we have achieved quite a lot. But zinthu zambiri zimene zakwaniritsidwa, komabe paliso zina zoti tanoti tiziunike bwinobwino kuti zinthu zisinthe ndi mmene anthu tonse amene tinamenyera democracy kuti Malawi yathu ikhale yokoma bwanji. Mwachisanso pa zinthu zina zimene tapangapo bwino kwambiri ndi mene tukuziwa kuti kalero nthawi imene pana boma la chipani chimodzi maufulu ambiri amaphwanyidwa. There was gross violation of human rights. We are aware that a number of people lost their lives just by expressing themselves on how the country should be governed. People were imprisoned, some of them without trial, some of them in kangaroo courts, and so forth. We know that also Antuena analyzed kama katundu hao through the for future act tukuzua sukuti Antuena ambiri nditu amangotengedwa kuphedwa mosa sati kungophedwa choncho kutaidwa misinje ndi zinthu zoterezo. Ndiye poti tonse amene timalifuna bwino dziko lino tinayesesa ndithu kuti timenyere ufulu wa democracy Malawi munomo. Ndi mu zaka zambuyo mwachisanzo anzathu akatolika anali likiliki kulemba pastorate yoyamba mu 1992, kuona mu 1993 referendum. Ndi referendum inali chiyambi cha ulendo wathu umene tayenda mpaka pano, umene tuunika ndithu kuti kodi ulendo tayenda bwanji, tafikira pati ziphinjo zinezo tani. Mu 1993 anthu tinavota kuti tikhale ndi ulamuliro wa zipani zambiri, umene mpaka pano zipani ndi zambiri, zina zikunka ndithu nalembesa zina akuzichosapo pa ndandanda wachani wa list ya zipanizo malingana ndi malamulo yani oyang'anira zipanizo. Tikuona ndithu kuti maufulu ambiri ngati taonanso kuti atolankhani ufulu wawo ukulemekezeka ngakhale pali zina ndi zina zoti zenoti zisinthidwe. Mabungwe ambiri ayambisidwa phatikizaso ndi bungwe ngati la Center for Human Rights limene nali mozi oliyambisa ndi maufulu omwe kumbuyoko zinthu ngati zotere kunalibe. Titaonanso ndithu kuti nthawi imeneyo mbuyo munali Malawi Broadcasting Corporation. Kwa panopo tikuona ndithu kuti kuli mabungwe ambiri atolankhani kuphatikizaso ma station ngati yanu imene ili pano imene tikukamba program zimene mbuyoko kunalibe. Kuli ma community radios ambirimbiri amene akuyesesa ndithu kufalisa mauthenga ochulukirapo. Taonanso ndithu kuti zisankho zikumachitika kawiri. Malamulo athu akunena kuti zisankho zichitika pakapita zaka 5 takhala tikupanga. Ka zisankho zakazupangidwa mwa ubwino osimwa bwino ndikhanina naso
tizikambirana program yathu lero
kuti kodi zinthu zinali bwanji. Koma malingana ndi democracy nthambi ina ndiye kuti tizikhala ndi zisankho pafupi imene ndithu tikuyikwanirisa ngakhalebe pali zinthu zina zoti tizana kuti mnake zisinthike. Paliso constitution imene inapangidwa ndi imene ikulola zonsezo 1994 1995 ya ku parliament anayikhazikisa the Malawi Democratic Constitution imene ikutambasula ndithu mulima pali maufulu ambirimbiri amene akutambasulidwa. Ena mwayonda amene ndakambapo ngati freedom of association, rights to form an association and also to participate. Taona kuti mabungwe amene ndithu komanso pali mndandanda ndithu wama ufulu ambirimbiri pa section 4 ya constitution yathu. Pali maufulu amene akukuza ndi pa chizungu timati civil and political rights. Komanso pali maufulu okuzana ndi economic and social right amene so ndithu makamaka kumbali ya maufulu okuzana ndi civil and political rights amene ndithu pali zambiri zimene zachitika zabwino. Koma kumbali ya economic and social right ndimene mwenake sinapange zambiri zimene timayembekeza. Pali zifukwa zambirimbiri zina ndizoveka mwa izozo zina sizoveka.
So ndi background imene mwatipatsayi, you were on the forefront fighting for democracy and human rights in the country. 30 years down the line, are you impressed with how things are in the country and as far as democracy is concerned?
Ngadimenda nena poyamba, there are certain things we have done well. The rights, freedoms,
mwina overall kungoona chabe kuti okay ifeyo 1994 1992 mene timayamba kuti zinthu zisinthe mdziko muno zimene timafuna ndi zimene zikuchitika kapena ayi, just overall in percentage.
What I would say that to some extent, yes. There are things which things which were expected, they are happening. But however, there are also challenges, and I think I'll actually mention these challenges. And
nofuna mukhale mphunzitsi sopano kupereka marks kuti okay easy. Zimene timamenyerera ufulu ndi zimene zikuchitika mwina mutha kupereka marks ochuluka bwanji.
What I would say is maybe 60 zikuchitika, 40 were still lagging behind. Why do I say this is that mwachisanzo kuti maufulu aoneke kuti ni maufuludi we have to look at the poorest, the downtrodden person. Kodi maufuru akeo akulemekezedwa? The answer is not adequately, for the following reasons. One is that access to justice for the so many Malawians is almost a nightmare 30 years after democracy. There are access to justice institutions. Courts are some of them. Malawi Human Rights Commission, where I was working, are some of them. The Office of Ombudsman are some of them, among others. But still more, these institutions, they don't have a wider outreach where a common man and woman is. It's not in Irongo, Blantyre, Irongo, and Muzuzu. It's not justice for the elitist, justice for the few. So in terms of access to justice, it's access of the few. And democracy is about the participation of the majority. The other aspect is also participation in decision making. Democracy is about a majority rule. And if we sect in the majority rule, tionamoti ambiri amene ali majority ndi azimayi. Ambiri padakali pano amene ali majority ndi mayouth. And tikapanga reflect in decision making position, we are far away in achieving that. But malip service timeta chitukuchitika. Tikachitako pang'ono kupanga pronounce. Tili ndi speaker mzimayi. Tili ma member of parliament azimayi. Ena mwayo ndi azimayi. Akula mabungu, yes, it's good, but it's not good enough. As I'm saying, democracy is about a majority participation. This should be reflected. When we look in terms of Zipani, Machisanso, it leaves a lot to be desired. Ma structures maomo, azimai ambiri mulibe, achinyamata ambiri mulibe, and so forth. To the extent that even it's making life of campaigns for campaign amene ma civil society akupanga uti 50-50. 50-50, it should also have a basis. Even mabunga kuma campaign they should go beyond kukandika fever campaign kuma panga advocate. What is much more critical in my view is that let us look at structures, because women participation in politics, the failure is because of the structure. We have to dismantle, to reform the structure, in particular the political party structure. If you have to have 50-50, then affirmative action should be instituted. Kuti Zipani maudindo onse akali 50-50.
Amaya akali maudindo 50, abamboso maudindo 50. Si ndi campaign yawe 50-50. Of course, Gender Equity Act kunena kuti manono kuti nkani ya gender zikhala 60-40 of whichever. But you see, in my campaign, many society opanga ni 50-50. Therefore, you to realize 50-50 in terms of numbers, then those numbers should be reflected from institutions which sponsors, because it's the political party which sponsors candidate to go to contest. So if where they're sponsoring, there are fewer women, it doesn't make sense. It's illogic for this campaign to realize much more. Because women have been marginalized, kumeta chokerako, that's why preferential, that's why there should be that consideration. It's also painful that where I used to work, kunais ndi make MHRC.
No, Malawi Human Rights Commission, yes, but also my work in NICE, National Initiative, there was efforts, even Kumboyo's effort, yakuti tikalendi reserve seats for women. These things are very simple. It's just about political will and commitment, which I'm not seeing. It's not there. If it's there, it's just a lip service. Because with a political will, turn out okay. ngatufuna tipangira let us have reserve seats. It's happening in other countries, Uganda, Rwanda, and so forth. What is it that can stop any leadership of a political will? I'm not talking here about Chakwera's regime. I'm not talking here about Peter Mutharika regime, all the post-one party regimes, government that have been in power, have failed women of Malawi. Because if there were commitment, the beginning point would be the affirmative action, reserve seat. They talk about resources. Come on. We have just demarcated the seats. We have increased a number of MPs. Of course, I have some reservation to that. We can talk as we proceed. But if the issue was money, where have we found now money that the additional seats in the parliament, where have we found money? If for women, some of the excuses has been money. So where have we found money? And these are the issues which I feel the civil society, which are championing 50-50, they should look at them critically. Kuzitenga zintu zipaere paere. Because
mukati paere mukutanthauzanji.
You see, is to kukambirana ndi anthu amene akupanga zipinjo, and at times they're giving us unreasonable answers. And justified answers.
Ndikudziwani Mwalibunju ngati munthu omasuka osazungulira mukafuna kulankhula zinthu kale mukachitisa press briefing anthu amati kukoni kulankhulidwanji. Nanena kale kuti nthawi ya bingu mwina sanathe kupanga renew contract yanu kuti muchiteso ulendo wina kubungwe la Malawi Human Rights Commission chifukwa chokuti munali munthu amene mumatsutsa kwambiri, mumatsutsa zinthu zikayipa. Ndufuna muzinena ndithu mosapyatira mosaopa. Paere akweneka achitire ndani?
Constitution yathu, I think section 12, principles, constitutional principles. Ikunena kuti section 12, political all the authority that people who are in power that are exercising, they are doing so to serve, to promote and serve the interest of Malawians. Seen in the constitution. So Fusoranulo, amene ali mu authority. Amene ane ku authority kumbuyo kundi amene ali mu authority padakali pano. In particular, President Chakwera and his government. They would have done, they would have improved. It's not enough to kumenta Chakwera ansatu kumbuyo sana panga. Kuma inyo akupa sana authority. They campaigned, they contested, they wanted the leadership. If they didn't want, they would have just stayed home or to their previous respective work. As it should be. So, pressure it should mount, ongoing pressure. Also to political parties. These are leaders, all the leaders in our major political party, be it DPP, UTM, UDF, and so forth. They should be taken to task. There is CMD, Center for Multi-Party Democracy. It's a forum for political party. It is now they should begin engaging so that most of our women, they should participate. But also coming to issues of women also is connected to issues like the rights of children, in particular a girl child.
Nde Mwalibunju mwakambapo ndithu nkhani kuti ndi mwina 60-40 kuti pena tikulephera pena tachita bwino. In terms of democracy mwakambapo zinthu zingapo, access to justice za 50-50 campaign mwakamba choncho, munazaka mpanso za freedom of expression kuti we have done better koma we could have done more. maybe what role have governance and human rights organization played in Malawi? And we are talking of the current government.
The governance institution, I'll begin from civil society organization, NGOs. There are various NGOs. There are those NGOs who are involved in broader human rights issues, like Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation. There are others which are specifically for women, like NGO Gender GCN. There are those which are involved in issues of youth, like Yoneko. There are those which are involved in children, like Center for Youth and Children Affairs, in addition to other international organizations. There are also faith-based organizations, Public Affairs Committee, Catholic Commission for Justice and Peace. They have been involved in promoting of rights. They have been involved in advocacy. For example, advocating for electoral justice. We saw the Human Rights Defenders Coalition when, at that time, post-1999 election, they were mobilizing people to fight for electoral justice. There were some contribution. Of course, they were not alone. There were a number of actors. At least they spearheaded the process. We have also seen institutions like NGO Gender Network. Even if I was talking about authorities having not done much, but on their part as a civil society, they have done a lot of work in terms of promoting, fighting, engaging the power that be, and all sorts of things. So, in brief, I would say that there is progress that these institutions have made, but still more, there are more that should be done. In particular, issues of advocacy. And I think advocacy, the voice, because these are supposed to be the voice of the voiceless, and we don't see the voice as it should be. And we're asking us our question, what is it that has gone wrong? Mm-hmm. I may not have all the answers, but would like to encourage them to voice on the voice of the voiceless. For instance, issues of a girl child. I'll come back to a girl child. Look at the so many violations that is taking place, in particular issues of like early marriages. Young girls are getting into marriages. Young girls are becoming mothers at the tender age, and the statistics are overwhelming. To what extent have we, or are we doing, not only on a women-based organization, but a wrong thing is a wrong thing? For instance, marrying somebody or getting involved in terms of sexual-related acts with somebody who's beyond 18 years is a violation of the law. It's against the law. When, on the other side, somebody will be driving who is underage, is not supposed to drive, it's a big issue. Mm-hmm. Or you go and arrest, and so forth. Somebody who is going to vote, underage, to say underage should not vote, it becomes a very big issue. But here there is a young girl in a village, parents have married off, and it doesn't become an issue. I think if we're talking about rights, it's where I have a problem. If we're talking about justice, it's where I have a problem. Here is a young girl, and even scientifically, medically, that muntu mwana underage namakauta asana kwime. We're seeing chiefs. These things are happening in villages. Police are there, chiefs are there, NGOs are there. What are we saying?
All right, without reminding you what you did back in Kariekera, I don't want to remind you what you did that time at Kariekera. I don't know if you remember what you did then. And I'm not saying that the civil society organizations that are here in Malawi doing their work, they should also do the same that you did in Kariekera.
What was it remind me? Sometime back, right?
Mwaiwala.
Bikale.
Mwaiwala kuti munazachita ka kung fu mundipangitsa kuti ndiyankhule kumeneko mutapezeka zokuti simunakondwere ndi zinthu zina zimene mwina zimachitika kumbali ya Kariekera. Mwaiwala.
Ndikumbuseni.
Okay, that time mwina you were vocal. Munali pa ground kuonetsetsa kuti zinthudi zichitike kumenyera maufulu athu. Ndimafuna mufotokozenso mwachindunji mosapyatira mmene munanenera muja mwapaere. Ma civil society organizations amene mwatchula mwanena kuti ena ayesesa mwina kumbali yawo. Komano mukakhala ku nyumba, do you see that the human rights organizations that are here now, they are doing enough ndi mmene munkachitira inuyo kale in ensuring kuti ma rights anthu Malawi muno akulemekezedwa komanso boma likuchita zinthu zoyenera?
Of course, but I cannot talk on ourselves over our time.
Kapena mukuopa kwanena anzanu.
Ndiwopendani. Nthawi yaifeyo, there was a lot of commitment. There was a lot of focus. There was a lot of we are not biased. Timakana maskon.
Simaja mabanzi nthawi ya Mwalibunju.
Manipulation. And also when we could speak, government was listening. Yes, they were against us. Yes, they were not for us, but they were listening. But at the moment we are seeing now the trend which is becoming worrisome, where some civil society are becoming governmental. Where people, they want to go into governance civil society, what is in it for myself? Issues of entitlement, which is a disease among all of us. Patriotism, we are not seeing. We are seeing human rights officers, not human rights activists. We were activists and we are still activists. When we could talk, and also we were also engaging based on issues. Panopo na mwayo suti ndi onse ola. Utotenga apo tiziduswa. Amena upanga ntchito yabwino koma ntchito yotamandika. Koma there are some few who also are in there and amena kuno ngaso chani mbiri ya chani ya civil society. The other aspect is also transition, management of transition, and this is a challenge not only in a governmental situation. Mukaona sozamboma kwembra 1995 my transition yake kauti osarongosoka. We are kubwera hapo zintu kubwera pombo, we are just moving around this cycle. Is that also the current leadership of civil society, they should also be grooming, preparing for succession. They should also have a strategic thinking, which is not as it used to be. One would have expected.
Did you do that? Maybe you didn't do a good job in mentoring others in terms of succession. What you're saying?
It's a good question. In some institutions that they tried, in others they might have not tried. I cannot talk on behalf of others, but I will just give you an example from where I worked, like Center for Human Rights and Rehabilitation. Yes, the institution is doing something good, but it can do better. I'm not saying it's the best, but there are certain elements that can also be lent and borrowed, even if they are few. For instance, I was the founding director. Now I've seen the current one, I think, should be the fourth. In terms of managing succession. Whether we are grooming them well or not, that is a different issue. But if there's some succession, the other people are coming, they will come in with new thinking, new ideas, and so forth. We have also seen some institutions where some of the succession might have not done. They were not season chitike mwa dongosoro kweni ichindi changa nayambisa ene we have seen zinthu zimene zikufa. Was in wape mphaso azinzanga kuti there is life beyond kuyambisa chinthu.
Like you did.
There is a life beyond kuyambisa chinthu. If kuyambisa chinthu it's not a justification kuti mpaka chikhale chako kale. And zimene zizi sindu kuyamba chifukwa chako chani chaku civil society kundale kundeku kununka. Look at
mpaka kununka.
Kukununka. Because these are obvious.
Zuchitikaso zimene zokuti nachiyambitsa ine ndichikhalire ine.
Inu simukuona zimene zikuchitika.
Tationetseni. Tativumbulutsireni kuti kumene mukuona kuti kukuchitika zoterezi.
Ku UDF what happened? Okay, chitinachiyambisa ngati wewe mwina ufuna uchoke kuusira mwana wako ulombale wako. Zinthu siziyenda choncho. We need to think outside the box. That these institutions that we are founding, they should live a test of time. And living a test of time is kuti chinthu cho ukachisiya iwo ukapita koma chinthu chizipitirira. So we talk about because of kung'ang'anira zinthu chindi chathu chaife cha family. We saw ana kubadwa DPP I'm sorry UDF yabereka mwana ngati DPP ikubereka mwana ngati zipani zina mwachisanzo the party of former president Dr. Joyce Banda zabadwa minimum zipani ngati UTM zikubadwa minimum. So you can see the trend because at each stage other people are reacting kuti zimene zikuchitika izi sicha munthu umodzi o sicha kagulu kamodzi o sicha family. Mu DPP monso taonanso posachedwa apa anankhumwa kuchokamo kuyambisa chipani chino akabambe achokamo tusizoda kupita kuti and so forth. So zinthu ngati zimene zizi tizichepese tiunike fuati kapanga choncho because who are you to say poti wayambisa and then you are the best? Who are you? And in most cases history has reviewed us that even those ones who they claim kuyambisa they have not even been the best either.
I want to take you back ku munayankha kuti panthawi yathu kunalibe masikono munatero.
Yes.
Panthawi yanu kunalibe masikono.
Yes,
are you sure about that?
Absolutely. Unless if
where were you getting the money to do all that advocacy?
You see, when you are principled, money is not a problem. When you are principled, when you are transparent, but you have to persevere because there are consequences and also time waiting. When you are doing a good job, things comes by. For instance, during our time, we advocated for a competent electoral commission. That was in 1998-99. Things were not working well. There was their chairperson Hanja. We advocated for his removal, including his CEO, consistently. And we were successful because we worked as a team. Yes, we had differences, but we worked under a team and the principles, values of institutions of the time. there were a lot of attempts for people in government to give you a scorn. There is a giver and a taker. So if you are weak and you want to subject yourself to abuse your ethics, your principles, then it's up to you. Secondly, is that also during our time, there was an attempt to amend the constitution to have a president for life, a president for second term. We are on the forefront to ensure that that was wrong. That was not what we fought for. We fought for democratic principle, and we felt that the leadership of the time was taking us out. There were a lot of things, offers, jobs, and whatever. We said no.
Commander, my question still remains, Mr. Mwalibunju. Where were you getting the money as civil society organizations?
You see, most civil society, they get money from development partners.
You were not getting money from other political parties then?
No. Even currently, a number of NGOs are getting money from development partners, most of them. But there are few of them, they are pushing the agenda. Because yes, you can get money, but also you can be penetrated to do the agenda of a government in power. Or musama pange my advocacy and so forth. Mock to mabut and undermining. So to answer your question is that if you are well-organized institutions, you have competent staff, competent document, you write proposals, funders will come in. And let me say that maybe during our time, because there was a fever, also to be fair to the current NGOs, there was a fever of consolidating democracy. So there were a number of interests in funding governance institutions, human rights institutions. We got money from Scandinavian countries, the Danida, Norwegian government, UNDP, and so forth. So those were our sources of money.
Some people have argued that since multi-party democracy, human rights groups have put emphasis on rights at the cost of responsibility. How would you react to such assertions?
It's a correct assertion, given what has been happening. Aliyese muntu akamapanga chintu even choipa ndi ndufuru wanga hivi nana kusukuru kumene septa ndi ndufuru wanga koma tikulephera kuziwa kuti ufuru wako umakezera pamene mphono yanza kuyambira kuti ukuku inde ufuru wanga zanjana ngalafika apa pamphuno koma ukuku ndikalipitiriza ndimenya mphono ya muntu yanzanga. So you have to be responsible kuti apa pamene ndafika apa ndisapange yani. So indeed it's true, ndizoona kuti tapanga mabungo ambiri even ku Center for Human Rights Milenari, ku Mara Human Rights Commission, kunaisiwo ndizoona kuti tapanga kwambiri emphasize kuma rights. Then thazina mukapanga kwambiri emphasize kuma rights maunongaso zinthu. Si anthu alibe udindo. Paliponse paine palibe udindo zinthu zimaonongeka. De zina mwa izo zimene zikuonongekazo ndi chifukwa chani udindo ambiri anthu alibe. Mwachisanzo nkhani ngati za mob justice, kutengera malamulo paiweka ngati munthu you are a law abiding citizen, ndi udindo kuti ulemekeze malamulo, kuti munthu akalakwa umapitisa ku polisi akhoti amakampasa mnyerekezo chani wa chilango. Also pali ma programs apo ndifuna ndisindikize ndithu. Pali ma programs amene boma likupereka kwa anthu kuti atukule. Mwachisanzo affordable implement program AIP ena muntu boma pyora msonko wako yagula kuti likuthandize iweyo mamuti zinthu zijazifetereza kuti uthandizidwe ukagulisa mapeto ake kudanda ulaso tiyani ndiri ndicha boma alakuthandiza ndifetereza mamuti ukalime pamunda sufuna ukalima amene taka ulimire kukudyesa ndi ndani pali ma programs ena mwachisanzo school feeding programs mwana obereka yoweka ufuna apite ku sukulu kwena kamdyese yo upangako chani panopo sozafika penake ponyanyiraso zikunyanyiraso mwachisanzo over dependence on others udindo nkhani za udindo zomwezo kupanga over depend on others mpaka masiku ano in today's and age akuti even ukhondo woti zimbuzi mpaka bungwe libwereza kuthandizeni amala yako tafikira pati tufuna tipite kuti ziko linditu tiriwombola mavuto so maudindo akuchepekera.
I guess this is the democracy that you fought for.
No, we fought for progressiveness of human beings kuti anthu achokemo mu umphawi anthu kuti akhale olimbikira anthu akhale they should be self-reliant rather than dependence udindo kuchani ukutisowekera kwambiri nde pempho langa ndira kuti poti zinthu zonse mazindikira anzathu amene ali mabungo ophunzitsa anthu kuti mwina mwake tiyambe kupanga emphasize in terms of responsibility ma rights autapangapo kwambiri
tibwereranso ku nkhani ya mabungwe akuti mwina chifukwa chonena zakuti inu mwagwira ntchito kwambiri ndi mabungwe komanso mmene mufotokozera kuti mwayambitsa mabungwe osiyanasiyana ndi mmene zinthu zilili pakadali pano komano before I go to that ndimafuna titadziwa kuti what contributions did you make when you were working with Malawi Human Rights Commission?
As you know, the Malawi Human Rights Commission is a body of constituting commissioners. Ndi sunka muntu weka magura ntchito limodzi ngati ma commissioners. I think I think they are according to Commissions Act, I think they are around 7 if I'm not mistaken commissioners. Ndi mapanga ma decisions as a collegiate body as opposed to the ombudsman, where the ombudsman is one individual who wears or she wears the hat of an ombudsman. Ndi mabungu omo ngati mene commissioner was commissioner who was responsible for civil and political rights. Nthawi imene our contributions was to reduce torture in police. Zomwe tungova kuti munthu amanga asana mfuse yangomenya chanchani ena mpaka akakufera momo so zimene zozo fit mabita kwapanga investigate we issuing my reports even panopo sakupanga commission mathaya athu sinapanga tikapanga issue my report because malamuloso akunena kuti as a commissioner you can subpoena anybody in authority kandi nduna kandi inspector general of police you summon akapanda kubwera to be contempt of court you can go to the court to have that particular officer accountable and if timapanga summon my inspector general of the time kuti anthuwa apangidwa torture ma report ndawa a police amene anapanga zimene zizi bwanji sakumangidwa because there is nobody who is above the law. So we were fighting against impunity. There is nobody who is above the law. So we contributed to that, but also visiting people in place of detention. I may recall when I was a commissioner for civil and political rights, I think by that time there was arrest on allegation of treason charges towards the then Vice President Dr. Kasim Churumba, who was provided house arrest, Kumudi. I attempted to go and see. Regardless, here I'm Sapito Kumeniku, say this is bullshit, it's nonsense, because it's not a president. Amene anga upange kutu Sapito Kumeniku di Maramulo. Whether a president, what I was trying to exercise was doing things according to the according to the constitution. I was held back by other commissioners, say you did not recruit me. I was nominated by the constituency that I'm representing, the vulnerable group in our society, and I'm a commissioner in my own right. Absolutely, if they're there, they can have a testimony, because that was the rightful way of doing rather than
so pano chimene chinapangitsa ubale wanu kuti inu ndi Malemu Bingwa Mutharika mzimu wawo use mumtendere kuti musakhale in good terms, kuti akuneneni kuti no, you are too critical.
You see,
chinali chani?
We are just talking the truth to power. Talking the truth to power. Kwauza a president kuti iniyo sindino malamulo. Mwena kuti muchani mulemekeze malamulo. For instance, there were a number of, yes, his regime in one side it was good trying to put things in order first term, but also a respect of rights. Human rights defenders were being suppressed. Anti demonstrations they were being suppressed. And the constitution is very clear that people have a right to demonstrate, but peacefully. So if people are demonstrating peacefully. I mean, what is the issue do you have? Unless there should be something wrong in that particular person who is in authority, because the Maramulo is very clear. And we in Afuna and Hapange contrary to Maramulo. And you're a president, you're supposed to upange protect. It's a hypocrisy. So it was talking power to the truth. Of course, there were Mzima Usemtendere. On several occasions we engaged. And I told him that the only way out, what we are fighting for, one of the issues was against suppression of freedoms. So in as far as anyone who is suppressing freedom and I can contribute, I will, even if at any cost. So he was a man who didn't like to be challenged. But who was he? Because as a president, I'm saying who was he? Or who is a president? As a president, Section 12, ikupanga verikesia yenyewe. Ikutenda kuti aliyense.
Potengera courage imene munali nayo. I want to take you back 30 years imene yadutsai. Mwaonako maboma ndithu angapo. Mwagwirako ntchito yanu ngati human rights activists, not officer, mumaboma amenewa. Muta kunena zotani za ulamuliro umene ulipo pano in terms of governance?
I think a number of freedoms, people are continuing enjoying them and exercising them. So there are progress in that, and also we're seeing some institutions are coming up, even if we have some reservation because of resources, but we have seen the Police Complaint Commission, we have seen the institutions such as the Malawi Unity and Peace Commission, among others. We have also seen in some cases some increased resources to some of these institutions, like the Malawi Human Rights Commission and so on. and as well as the Anti-Corruption Bureau, even the National Initiative for Civic Education, we are used to work kuti zikhale ndi ability kuti likafikira anthu. But kumene kuli mavuto akulu si ayo awaoka koma tukamba za iwo chifoti ndamene akuyendesa galimoto.
Exactly, that's why you are here. We want you to analyze the current administration. As Ollen Mwalibunju that we knew way back.
Because you see, issues of element of issues of corruption, for example, it is on the increase. Ability to strengthen the anti-corruption mechanism has been a mockery, in my view. There have been a lot of infights of these offices, whether the Director of Public Prosecution, the Anti-Corruption Bureau, this and that. Even if there have been an amendment to give a much more power to the Anti-Corruption Bureau, as opposed to in the past, in terms of consulting the DPP in undertaking some of its work. But you see, when you see a regime elements within the regime, whether the leadership knew or did not knew, but when you are a leader, whether you have known something or not, you are supposed to be held accountable for what happened. For example, the intimidation that went through to the former Anti-Corruption Bureau, Martha Chizum, leaves a lot to be desired. Up to now, we have not seen much more inroads. We see a situation where the SCB, former SCB director, was sitting in terms of audio at whatever. Yes, she may have also some problems, but as a leader, you're supposed to stand, in my view, because the SCB is helping his government. Within dramas.
So who was supposed to stand in this case as a leader? You have just said as a leader. Who was supposed to stand?
Section 12.
I want you to be direct. I want you to be direct. Who was supposed to stand?
The president of the country. To say, for example, the way the SCB director was arrested and whatever, the concerns and whatever, it was a lip service of some sort. Mm-hmm. We also see that there were allegations around Kunokima. A number of serious allegations. Some of those allegations were centering around some senior government officers. Whenever there's an allegation, if you're in control, mokuzidwa ndizi zitikuimisani pending investigation. The issue of also responsive leadership leaves a road to be
so
desired.
You wanted to see the president, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, standing up on that issue, Yanokma?
Because you see, there was allegation which were leveled against one of his senior officer, the secretary to the president cabinet. We needed a voice of certain actions of some sort. The other issue is about management of resources, abuse of resources. In the sense that you see, a country like Malawi is poor. one would have expected that when, before they came into power, they told us that they're going to reduce unnecessary expenses. But ukaona zibina makamba zindizinochitika zokutizana. In some cases the answer is no. There's a lot of wastage. You retain, or if not increase, the number of senior government officials and so forth. There are a lot of traveling. You even have the audacity to hire a plane when your children are starving. Is that logical? The answer is no. If you are a country or a leader...
I hope on that you have been listening to the responses of government officials, including the Minister of Information, kuti nkoyenera ndithu mtsogoleri wa dziko kuti atuluke azikasaka ndalama zothandizira mdziko muno. Don't you think that's a good reason?
Whether it's a good reason or not good reason, my point is moderation in terms of usage of resources. You can travel to New York, use a passenger ship, a passenger plane, because hiring is costly. Dramas are done. When mzipata mlibe mkwala, who doesn't know that Malawi is poor, is among the 10th poorest countries? Whom do you want to go there and impress? Kuti nanusu mabera bajeti. If you cannot afford, live within your means. That is all what I'm trying to say. And this has been a disease of most of our leaders. We want to pretend to be who we are not. I think there is a need for mindset change. For the other aspect is that recently there was a debate, or there have been discussions in terms of the numbers of senior government officials at the higher level of PSs. A small economy and dramas many tukupanga rani boma tukape maso. Even pano tukulira lero drama tilibe. So one of the wisest way to do things, in my view, if I was in his shoe, it would have been to immediately reduce where there are unnecessary expenses and so forth.
All the issues that you have mentioned here, have you seen the civil society organizations are doing enough, especially in this administration, 4 years of Tonse government?
I think they would have done enough. In the sense that if they would have done enough,
muchichewa chanditendite mungalankhule kuti chani
ndikuti akupanga koma bwezata panga zopyorera pamene akupangira iwowo kuti zinthu zina zisapyorere muyeso bwezi zinthu zina zitazipanga chani titaziyimisa during our time timayimisa zinthu ichiyayi izizi zozoteka
akuti amalawi si anthu afera. Analankhulapo one of the human rights activists inu mawu amene wamukhoza kuwatenga bwanji ngatiso nanu human rights activist?
He or she may have the right of expression. If that is the case, why is she in those institutions? Because it's a hypocrisy. It doesn't make sense. Because if you have convicted yourself, you have made a commitment, why not stick to the commitment? In that person's word, I think it's unfortunate. And those are the elements, perhaps, that people are just getting into civil society movements with their own agenda. And because of that type of way of doing things, ndamene akulakusa zinthu zina zikumaoneka kuti civil society even the good ones.
Zikuoneka kuti ndo yatithera kuyankhula zokuti mabungwe akugona kwambiri pa mavuto sewa mwatchulawo kuti zakhala zikuchitika koma mabungwe mwina ungotusa ka statement basi kungoonetsa zokuti alipo koma usachita mwakuya mmene mmachitira kale kunena zokuti mabungwe akugona pakadali pano mu ulamuliro umenewu wa Lazarus Chakwera ndi boma ndi tonse partners ndikulakwa
sikulakwa kwenikweni chifukwa chakuti zinthu zikuchitika but palibe seriousness kuti zinthu zinazo zichepesedwe kuchitika. Government arrogance still stands without being checked and so forth. Consumption expenditures is still happening. Corruption, yes, it's difficult, whatever, but in corruption we need to see some political will of government. We are not seeing much. So tukupempa kuti mabungu amene alipo akumenyera za ufulu anthu, let them come out, let them be visible. Let them be on the side of the oppressed. Let them be on the side of the downtrodden people. Epuwa Malawi ndamene mutuma muyimirira kuti zintuone kuti zikusintha uzuchitika bwino. Measurability ndi munthu wakumuzi uchayo mphawi uchayo. To me is where we can measure ourselves. I'm not trying to undermine their work, but they have to change their mindset and do what is required for in terms of protecting the constitution.
Lastly, the country is heading for elections next year. Given your experience at NICE, which has also a focus on elections, what do you think should be done to ensure that the 16th of September 2025 elections are free, fair, and credible?
I think good preparation is essential, like in any other aspect. Kuti kukonzekera bwino kuyambiratu. And I think the Malawi Electoral Commission atuza kuti mu August azipanga launch calendar ya electoral calendar official launching. Of course ilipo kumafuna kuti ngoipanga officially launch. So imeneyo yithandiza aliyense amene ali otenga nayo mbali pa chisankhocho kandi zipani kandi mabungwe aboma and so forth. Koma chachikulu kwenikweni nchakuti tiyambiretu panopo ntchito yo kalikiliki yowaphunzitsa Amalawi in terms of civic education kuti anthu chisankho chikazayandikira azatenge nawo mbali moyenera. Akhale ndi mauthenga oyenera komanso azakhale kuti ali ndi zonse zofunikira pa chisankhocho zofunika azakhale kuti akuziziwa. Ndiye kuti tipange choncho kuli bwino kuti they should be much more proactive rather than reactive. So ndikhulupirira kuti Malawi Electoral Commission ndi mabungwe amene atatengenapo mbali nawonso alikalikiriki kuti
pomalizira ndikukhulupirira kuti likhaladi funso langa lomalizira lenileni fwa nthawi ndi yatithera. Mukuyiona bwanji nkhani ya ma-alliance amene akuchitika pamenenso zipani zosiyanasiyana zikhale zikuchita ma-convention awo osiyanasiyana?
Alliances, they are obvious and they are essential and they are important. Because 50+1 palibe chipani chimene pachoka chingazitame kuti chingazikwanisa.
Panopa simukuona chipani kuti ichi chokha chikhoza mwina kupeza mavoti 50+1 mmene zilili pakadali pano?
Pachoka palibe letu ngati kupanga choncho mzipani angozinamiza. It's just a mockery. Why am I saying this is that analysis ndiya kuti post one party zipani zambiri they are dominated malingana ndi kumene sokolera chani akubwa ndi kumene zakhazi zikupeza mavoti ambiri. Ndiye ukati uyangane pa mavoti amene anthu akhala akuponya palibe chipani chimene chakhala chikutenga 50+1. I think except in 1999 ngati 94 ya Muluzi anafika hapo nditu ka 53. Then Bingu second term and pali zifukwa zake zimene zinthu zina ngati zimene zozo zimachitikira. Nthawi kumbuyo kunalibe zipani zambiri. 94 to 99 kunalibe zipani zambiri. I think it was UDF, Afford, zimene zinako zozuika up and so forth. And even by that time, Afford was predominantly the ethnic party of the north. DPP, many the ethnic party of, in terms of followers. So, zipani zatu zambiri, my followers, amakha kuti uyu muntu wakwatu. So, issues of ethnicity are there. So, kuti 50+1, ikwaniridwe. It could be, but on a very rare situation, and I'm not seeing it 2025 kuti chipani chimozi chithoza itinga 50%. So alliance anthu akuzipanga reposition in both sides zoti kuzakwanilisa 50+1. Even if we go for a second round, still more it sticks. It's still more that should be. So what we have just advised is that there should not be opportunistic alliances. As a kale alliance adiera, koma akale alliance what they are based on trust, kukurubirana and so forth.
Ndikuthokozeni kwambiri kuti munatenga nthawi yanu kubwera kuzatilankhula pa program imeneyi ya Zodiac Exclusive.
Thank you very much, Tatogoza.
Umunso ndimene tamalizira kucheza kwathu ndi Ollen Mwalibunju, mmodzi mwa anthu amene ndithu anali patsogolo cha ma 1990s kuyambitsa ndithu mabungwe osiyanasiyana omenyerera ufulu wa anthu, komanso anali patsogolo kumenyerera ufulu wa democracy. Ine ndileya Malekano, tikumanenso Sabata yamawa mu program ina ya Zodiac Exclusive. Mwakumanansi.